Is there a certain atmosphere in the studio on those kind of nights, or is it still very rational? Obviously, the BBC is supposed to be, non-biased to either side, but obviously, I imagine the people working there have different opinions and stuff. So, what's kind of the atmosphere on those nights?
Oh, look, I will tell you the only occasion on which certainly those who were around me were ever rooting for one particular outcome was in the result in Geoffrey Cox's seat, Torridge in West Devon in 2005. Why were we rooting? Because we, in the exit poll, had forecast that the Tories would get 306 seats or whatever it was, 307 seats. Anyway, that's what we said the Tories were going to get. And we knew from what was coming that we needed Geoffrey Cox to win his seat for us to be spot on. So there was a professional pleasure in that, thanks to Geoffrey Cox winning his seat, we were therefore going to be spot on in the exit poll forecast as far as the Tory tie is concerned. Otherwise, broadly, no. Look, this has to be a professional, politically neutral environment in which people are doing a job, and it's a job of trying to A, explain to the public what's going on, B, to try to find out how the politicians are reacting, and C, indeed, to occasionally to challenge the politicians about, their interpretation of the results or what they think that gives them a mandate to do and what not to do, etc. And everybody gets treated similarly. And insofar as there's ever a tension, I mean, there wasn't an exit poll for the European referendum, though we were giving lots of hints about what was going to happen, and there certainly is a caution about not calling it too early for the risk of taking on. So there's a tension there. That's just about a concern to get it right. I mean, otherwise the tension is created by the exit poll on general election night, and is the exit poll right or wrong or not? And obviously there's a certain amount of tension about that until eventually we discover it's not too bad. But I mean, that's so high profile, etc., etc. But not otherwise. No, I mean, occasionally the drama takes over. I mean, I well remember the 1997 general election when I was sitting there and we were analysing the data, and I had a producer next to me called Sean O'Grady. He works for The Independent these days, and this was around that. So this was the moment when Portillo lost his seat. Etc., etc. So we got the real drama of 1997 of seeing Tory cabinet ministers losing their seats. People didn't think it could happen because they didn't believe the opinion polls, etc., etc. And there I well remember, Sean saying, "Well, what can we say now? What can we say?" And I said, "Sean, sit down, shut up. We're not going to get anything on air for 90 minutes. Nobody cares about the psychology of this election. Just look at the drama." So sure, occasionally the drama of the night takes over, and there was a certain amount of that in 2017 because of the way in which people thought that Theresa May was going to get a majority, and then the shock of the exit poll, and then the fact that she had visibly indeed been crying, as we now know she had been crying before her count, etc., etc. So inevitably one is aware of the drama of the night, but at the end of the day we're all doing a job, and above all. Certainly what I'm trying to do is to keep across the story, to try to identify what's going on in order to explain to people, what's happened and what to expect and what are the implications we've seen so far. And that's kind of a full-time job without worrying about anything else.
Is there like nerves around like, oh, did we get it right?
Of course, this reputation is on the line. Though fortunately these days, thanks to Twitter, very, very quickly whether the exit poll is roughly right or not, and well before the results kick in, because people tweet from the counts, and if you follow what's going on, then and you understand the implications of what's being said, you can fairly work out what the story is. In 2017, there was about a half an hour when we weren't sure, but soon as both we were following Twitter, and if you're listening to what Laura Kunsberg was saying about what was being said on Twitter, Well, I couldn't have told you whether May had got a majority or not, but I could certainly tell you she didn't have a big majority, because there was just too much that was moving in that direction. So Twitter reduces the length of the nervousness. But we, at the end of the day, you just have to run with it. You collect the data, you analyze it, you do your best job, and you have to publish. And our defense at the end of the day would simply be, this was an honest attempt using honest research methods. There's never a guarantee that these things are always going to be right, but at least we've done a reasonable professional job, and that's all we can do. We won't get it right every time.